Imagine spending 6 months building a project, investing your time, your energy, your money, only to discover that it was doomed from the very beginning. Not because you didn't work hard, not because you weren't smart, but because you failed to see a critical weakness hiding in plain sight. Now imagine if you could travel 6 months into the future and ask one simple question. Why did this project fail? This idea forms the foundation of one of the most powerful decision-making techniques ever created, a technique called premortem. And today, it may be one of the most valuable ways to work with artificial intelligence. To understand why, we first need to talk about a hidden problem, a problem that affects almost everyone using AI today. Most people believe AI helps them make better decisions, and sometimes it does. But there is a catch. AI systems like Claude, ChatGPT, and many others are designed to be helpful. They are trained to assist, to cooperate, to provide useful answers. And because of that, they often become something dangerous, a very intelligent people pleaser. Imagine presenting a business idea to Claude. You ask, "Do you think this is a good idea?" Seconds later, you receive a beautifully written response. The market opportunity looks promising. The concept sounds innovative. The growth potential appears exciting. Everything feels encouraging. The problem is, your brain loves hearing this. Humans naturally seek confirmation. We enjoy information that supports our beliefs. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. And when AI continuously validates our assumptions, that bias becomes even stronger. The result? You become more confident, more optimistic, more committed, even when your idea may contain serious flaws. This is exactly why Daniel Kahneman became fascinated with premortem thinking. Kahneman was not only a Nobel Prize winning economist, he was one of the world's leading experts on how humans make mistakes. Throughout his research, he discovered something fascinating. People are surprisingly bad at predicting failure, not because they lack intelligence, but because optimism often blinds them to risk. When people create plans, they instinctively imagine success. They picture growth, progress, achievement. Very few people stop and ask, what if this completely fails? And even fewer force themselves to imagine exactly how that failure happens. Pre-mortem changes the game. Instead of asking, what could go wrong? You begin with a completely different assumption. You assume the project has already failed. Completely. Imagine 6 months have passed. The business is dead. The product never gained traction. Customers disappeared. Money ran out. The project is over. Then you ask, what happened? Suddenly something remarkable occurs. Your brain starts searching for weaknesses instead of opportunities, and AI begins doing the same thing. Instead of generating optimistic predictions, it starts generating realistic failure scenarios. And this is where Claude becomes incredibly powerful, because AI can rapidly simulate possibilities. It can identify overlooked risks. It can challenge assumptions. It can expose vulnerabilities hiding beneath your confidence. For example, imagine you are launching an AI agency. Most people would ask, how can I make this successful? But a pre-mortem prompt sounds different. You tell Claude, it is now 6 months later. My AI agency failed completely. Explain exactly why. The answers might surprise you. Perhaps the market became overcrowded. Perhaps clients never saw enough value. Perhaps customer acquisition costs were too high. Perhaps you relied too heavily on one service. Perhaps competitors moved faster. Perhaps your pricing strategy was fundamentally flawed. Notice what happened. These risks always existed. The difference is that now you can see them before they become reality. And that's the real power of premortem. Not predicting the future, preparing for it. But the most valuable part isn't usually the failure scenarios. It's the assumptions. Every project is built on assumptions. We assume customers will buy. We assume people care. We assume demand exists. We assume our solution is better. We assume we understand the market. The dangerous part is that most assumptions remain invisible until reality exposes them. Premortem forces those assumptions into the open, and once they become visible, they can be tested, improved, or replaced. This is why some of the best entrepreneurs, investors, and strategists constantly challenge their own ideas. They understand that success often comes from avoiding obvious mistakes, not from having perfect plans. In fact, many successful businesses didn't win because they were brilliant. They won because they avoided fatal errors. And in today's world, AI gives us an incredible advantage. For the first time, anyone can have access to a tireless thinking partner, a system capable of analyzing risks, questioning assumptions, and exploring alternative outcomes. But only if you ask the right questions. Because AI is not just a tool for generating answers. It's a tool for exposing blind spots. And sometimes, the most valuable insight is not learning why something might succeed. It's discovering why it might fail. Before failure becomes expensive, before months are wasted, before opportunities disappear. So the next time you have an idea, a business plan, a product, or even a life decision, try one simple experiment. Open Claude, open ChatGPT, and ask, assume this has completely failed 6 months from now. Explain exactly why. You may not like the answer, but it could be the answer that saves your project, because the future belongs not only to people who build, but to people who can see the risks that others ignore. And sometimes, the smartest way to move forward is to imagine that you've already failed.